You lie down. The room goes dark, and suddenly your brain turns on. Not a little, completely. Every conversation you had today, every mistake from 3 years ago, every decision you haven't made yet, it all floods in at once. You didn't invite any of it. You just wanted to sleep, but your brain has other plans. Why does this happen? Why does the moment you stop doing anything become the moment your mind starts doing everything? The answer is not what most people think. This is not a flaw. It is not anxiety, though it can become that. It is not modern stress, though that makes it worse. What happens to your brain at night is one of the oldest, most deeply wired processes in all of human evolution. And once you understand what it actually is, you will never think about your racing thoughts the same way again. Your brain runs two systems, not two hemispheres, two modes. During the day, when you are focused on a task, your brain activates what neuroscientists call the task-positive network. It locks attention onto the external world. It narrows. It executes. Psychologist Matthew Killingsworth at Harvard spent years tracking people's thoughts using random smartphone prompts and found that the human mind wanders nearly half the time during waking hours. But during focused tasks, it snaps back. The task-positive network keeps it tethered. The moment you stop a task, the moment you lie down, close your eyes, and give your brain nothing to grip, the task-positive network powers down, and something else activates. It is called the default mode network, and it is not a backup system or a resting state. It is arguably the most important network in your brain. Neuroscientist Marcus Rachel at Washington University discovered it almost by accident in the late 1990s. He noticed that certain brain regions lit up brighter on brain scans when people were doing nothing than when they were doing something. The scientific community was confused. This was not supposed to happen. But Rachel kept looking. What he found changed everything. The default mode network is the part of your brain that thinks about you. It processes your past. It imagines your future. It runs simulations of other people's minds to predict how they might behave. It reviews your social standing, your relationships, your unfinished goals. It is the network that generates the experience you think of as your inner life, and it only fully activates when nothing else is competing for your attention. Nighttime is when it finally gets the floor. Think about what your ancestors' nights actually looked like. Not 500 years ago, not 5,000. Go back further. 100,000 years ago, you are a social primate living in a group of 30 to 50 people. You sleep in short bursts, never fully unconscious, always partially alert to sound and movement. Anthropologist Jerome Siegel at UCLA has studied modern hunter-gatherer tribes, the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, and found that they do not sleep in one long block the way industrial societies expect. They sleep in fragments. They wake in the night. They lie still in the dark, alert and listening. During those still dark hours, your brain had work to do. It had to review the day's social interactions. Who behaved strangely? Did that person's face show a threat, or was it just tiredness? Did you offend someone? Are your alliances solid? These were not idle worries. In a world where your survival depended on your social group, a misread relationship could end your life. Psychologist Mark Leary calls this the sociometer, your brain's constant monitoring system for social acceptance. And at night, with nothing else to process, the sociometer runs its full diagnostic. This is why you replay conversations. It is not neurosis. It is exactly what the system was built to do. Your brain is also running something else at night. It is running predictions. Every thought that surfaces about tomorrow, the meeting, the confrontation, the plan, is your brain's threat assessment module doing its job. Think of it as your personal danger simulation. Researcher Antti Revonsuo at the University of Turku proposed the threat simulation theory of dreaming, arguing that dreams evolved specifically to rehearse threatening scenarios so the waking mind could survive them. But that simulation process does not only happen in dreams. It starts the moment external input cuts off. You close your eyes. The sensory data that was suppressing your internal simulation drops to nearly zero. The brain, freed from having to model the outside world, turns inward and starts modeling threats. Is tomorrow going to go wrong? What if it does? What would you say? What would you do? What did you miss? Each question generates an answer. Each answer generates another question. The chain can run for hours. Here is what makes this harder in the modern world. The threat assessment system evolved to process physical dangers in a social environment of 50 people, a predator, a rival, a coming storm. Those threats had edges. They ended. But your brain is now running the same ancient system against threats it was never designed to model: a career, a mortgage, a global news feed, a text message that came with the wrong tone. These threats do not have edges. They do not resolve in the night. So the simulation runs longer, spins wider, and finds no exit. And then there is the social replay module working overtime. Instead of 50 people, your brain is attempting to track hundreds or thousands of social relationships, colleagues, followers, strangers on the internet whose opinions your brain treats as survival-critical data. The sociometer does not know the difference between a friend in your tribe and a stranger who left a comment. It just counts social signals, and the modern world generates an incomprehensible volume of them. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker, who wrote extensively about sleep science, found that sleep deprivation increases amygdala reactivity, the emotional threat center, by 60%. The worse you sleep, the more threatening tomorrow seems. The more threatening tomorrow seems, the more your brain runs its nighttime simulation. The more it runs the simulation, the less you sleep. You already know this loop. You have lived inside it. But here is the counterintuitive part. The content of your racing thoughts is not the problem. The thoughts themselves are not broken. They are output from a system that is functioning exactly as it was designed. The problem is the signal you send when you fight them. When you lie in the dark and think this should not be happening, you activate the threat system about the threat system. The brain flags the racing thoughts themselves as a danger. Now you are anxious about your anxiety, awake about your wakefulness. The amygdala escalates, the default mode network spirals. Psychologist Stephen Hayes at the University of Nevada developed acceptance and commitment therapy in part because of what happens when humans try to suppress unwanted internal experiences. Suppression does not silence thoughts, it amplifies them. Every effort to stop thinking about something requires you to first check whether you are still thinking about it, which means you are. The most effective thing you can do at night is not to stop the thoughts, it is to stop treating the thoughts as threats. When the replay of that conversation starts, your brain is doing its job. When the simulation of tomorrow's meeting begins, your brain is trying to protect you. You do not have to engage with the content. You do not have to solve it at midnight, but you also do not have to fight it. The act of watching the thought without grabbing it, what mindfulness researchers call cognitive diffusion, removes the fuel that keeps the simulation running. Without threat escalation, the default mode network does what it actually needs to do. It processes, it files, it quiets. Your ancestors lay in the dark and listened for lions. They replayed the hunt, they planned for tomorrow, and eventually the night passed and they slept. The system worked. It still works. You just have to stop telling it that it is broken. Tonight, when you lie down and the thoughts begin, you will know what is happening. Not a malfunction, not a flaw in your character. Your ancient brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, reviewing the social world, simulating the future, trying to keep you safe in a world it still thinks is made of danger and darkness and 50 people who matter. The world changed. The brain did not. And now you understand why, the moment the lights go out, you finally completely turn on.